For billions of people around the world, energy doesn't come from a switch on the wall. It comes from things like firewood, charcoal, and crop leftovers. This is bioenergy, and it's an absolute lifeline for almost a third of humanity. But as we're about to see, it's a lifeline that has a really sharp double edge.
So, here's what we're going to cover. We'll start with why this is such a double-edged lifeline, and then we'll get into the real price of these traditions. After that, we'll look at the renewable revolution, check in on where off-grid energy is today, figure out what's stopping us from bridging the gap, and finally, talk about the real path to power.
So first, let's just wrap our heads around the scale here, because it is absolutely massive. We're talking somewhere between 2 and 3 billion people. That's nearly a third of everyone on the planet who relies on traditional biomass, like firewood and charcoal, for their day-to-day energy. For so many, it's pretty much the only option they've got. And this slide really lays out the two sides of the coin. On one side, you have that traditional biomass. It's not very efficient, it's super polluting, especially inside the home. And then on the other side, you have modern renewables like solar and wind. Clean, efficient, sustainable. And that is the fundamental problem we need to solve. So when you have billions of people still relying on these older methods, you have to ask, what is the true hidden cost of sticking with tradition? Well, that brings us right into our first major section, the price of tradition. We're about to uncover the really heavy toll these fuels take on both people and the planet. To make this feel real, let's follow the journey of charcoal in a place like Kenya. It all starts in forests, often hundreds of kilometers away from the cities. To keep up with the huge demand from urban areas, producers often just plunder these forests, creating a fuel that leaves a long, destructive path, all the way from the woods to the city stove. And the whole process is wildly inefficient. I mean, just look at these numbers. You need 6 kilograms of wood just to make a single kilogram of charcoal. An average city household can burn through the equivalent of 3.5 tons of wood in 1 year. That level of consumption it isn't sustainable, not by a long shot. The environmental cost is huge, but the human cost, well, that's even more devastating. The pollution from burning biomass inside homes causes more than 1.6 million deaths globally every single year, and most of the victims are women and children. But here's the thing. Amidst all this tragedy, there's a clear and totally achievable solution. As energy professor Daniel Kahneman points out, something as simple as designing better, more efficient stoves is one of the single most cost-effective health interventions we have. It can literally cut down respiratory infections by half and save millions of lives, all for just a few dollars a person. And this brings us to the promise of a completely new way forward, what we're calling the renewable revolution. Okay, so at the heart of this revolution are something called hybrid renewable energy systems, or HRES. The core idea is actually pretty simple, but it's powerful. You just combine multiple renewable sources like solar and wind into one system. That way, when the sun isn't shining, the wind might be blowing, which gives you a much more reliable, continuous supply of clean power. So how do they work? Well, you can think of them in 4 key parts. First, you've got your energy sources, solar, wind, whatever you've got. Second, you need energy storage, usually batteries, to save that power for later. Third, there's a system controller. That's basically the brain of the whole operation, managing where the energy goes. And finally, you have load management, which is just the smart system for balancing supply and demand. The promise here is just immense. HRES offers a way to bring reliable, sustainable, and affordable power to communities that the main grid might never reach. And they're scalable, which means they can grow as a community grows. It's a real path to energy independence. So that's the technology. But what does the off-grid energy world actually look like right now? Let's take a quick global snapshot. Data from the International Renewable Energy Agency, or IRENA, shows some serious growth. Global off-grid capacity has nearly doubled since 2015, hitting over 11 gigawatts. So the momentum is clearly building. But, and this is really important, if you break down what's making up that capacity, it tells a really interesting story. Bioenergy still makes up the biggest piece of the pie at over 46%. It's a powerful reminder of that double-edged lifeline we talked about. Even in the renewable off-grid world, traditional methods are a huge part of it. The good news, though? Look at solar. It's catching up fast, now at almost 37%. That is a clear shift. And this is about so much more than just gigawatts. It's about people. By 2024, 86 million people were getting their power from these off-grid systems. The growth in things like solar home systems and even just basic solar lights has been absolutely explosive. It's changing lives, one household at a time. But here's where we need a crucial reality check. While more people are getting access, the level of access is often pretty limited. Almost everyone with this kind of power has what's called Tier 1 or Tier 2 access. Think of it like this. It's just enough electricity for a few light bulbs and to charge a phone. And that's life-changing, for sure. But it's not enough to run a refrigerator or power a small business or to really transform an economy. So that leads to the obvious question. If this solution is so promising, why isn't it everywhere yet? That brings us to our next section, bridging the energy gap and the hurdles that are still on the horizon. There are pretty much four main barriers slowing things down. First up is money. These systems cost a lot up front. Second is a skills gap. You need trained local people to maintain the tech. Third, you've got inconsistent government policies that create a lot of uncertainty. And finally, social acceptance. You have to get communities involved in the process so they truly embrace the change. Getting over these hurdles means we have to look beyond just the technology and start thinking about the entire system. And that's the real path to power. And this might be the most crucial takeaway of all. The best solar panel or wind turbine in the world won't solve this problem on its own. Real lasting success demands integrated planning. That means getting forestry departments, health ministries, and energy experts all working together, creating one holistic solution that tackles health, sustainability, and economic development all at once. And that leaves us with one final critical question. This isn't just about kilowatts or investment figures. It's about finding a really delicate balance. How do we provide the energy that billions of people urgently need for a better life, while making sure we protect the long-term health of both those people and the planet we all share?